Indeed, look, my position doesn't change because of the result. I've always thought that the United Kingdom, as a member of the Security Council of the United Nations, as the mother of all democracies, should have a clear mandate from its people for a government with a large majority in the House of Commons, one way or the other. When I was younger, we used to be taught that it was only the Italians that had hung parliaments, and so they'd had something like 50 parliaments, 50 different governments since the Second World War. The United Kingdom always had a clear position for one party or the other with a clear majority. This is now the second hung parliament in a decade, in 7 years. Only the third, though, since the Second World War. So, I think it's important that people now look very carefully at how the mathematics works in the House of Commons, what the Prime Minister does, whether she's able to form a government on the basis of support from one of the other parties in the Parliament, or whether the initiative moves away from her if she cannot get support for Queen's speech to a potential coalition of progressive parties. I think that's unlikely given the numbers. I think it's more likely you're going to see a Queen's speech supported by the DUP, presented by the Conservative Party on the basis of an agreement of confidence and support being supplied by the DUP, rather than a coalition. I also think that parties now don't like coalitions because of the effect on the Liberal vote of the coalition government of the 2010 general election. So I think it's more likely that whatever happens, it's going to be based on confidence and support agreements rather than formal coalitions.
With the Conservatives to form a minority government, is there more chance of a soft Brexit?
Well, I don't know what we call soft Brexit and what we call hard Brexit these days. I think that those terms have become terms of art that are not properly defined. What I do think is that this result puts the British Parliament in the driving seat of the Brexit negotiations. There isn't an executive that will be able to impose its will on Parliament. The British Parliament is in the driving seat of the Brexit negotiations, and Gibraltar is very well supported in the British Parliament. We have friends in all the political parties, and so therefore our lobby in Parliament will become even more important than it might have been in the past.
The DUP have said they'll support a minority Conservative government on an informal basis. They've spoken out before against a hard Brexit, so does this bode well?
Well, we have a lot of friends in the DUP. I've congratulated Arlene Foster this morning. She's somebody I've been working with in the past months since Brexit. Ian Paisley Jr. often comes out to Gibraltar for National Day. They are people who understand the circumstances of Gibraltar. They are a unionist party, so they reflect the attitude that the people of Gibraltar have in terms of our relationship with the United Kingdom for the people of Northern Ireland. So I think they understand the psychology of Gibraltar and our relationship with the UK. In terms of Brexit, although they backed Brexit, they don't back leaving the single market completely. There are issues there which will be helpful to Gibraltar, but I think that those issues are alive in all of the political parties, the Conservative Party included, and so therefore I think the dynamics of our support in all of the political parties will be relevant.
An area of great interest to the DUP is a soft border with Ireland, so could this force concessions on freedom of movement, and do these have a chance of applying to Gibraltar as well?
Well, if you look at the issues of border in Ireland, remember that they have a common travel area which comes from before Schengen and before common membership of the European Union. They at the moment have free movement of goods across the frontier, so the issue of border movement is more likely to be reflected in goods issues than in free movement of persons issues. But this is all watch this space. I don't think anybody can predict any of what's going to happen, in the same way as it was impossible to predict how things might develop after the referendum on the 23rd of June. It would be foolish for us to do so. I think it's a question of wait and see, apply all the levers that we have in the context of the support that Gibraltar has, and make those arguments in the Parliament as much as with the executive that might emerge from today.